Beyond the Abyss. The recording from Nova Colony played across every screen on Earth. Billions watched as High Commander Dexthor of the Krivari Empire stood among the burning ruins of humanity's most advanced settlement. His crimson scales gleamed in the Inferno's light, razor-sharp teeth visible in what passed for a smile among his species. "Let this be a lesson," his translated voice boomed. "We are the Krivari. For 10,000 years, we have taught lesser species the meaning of hell. Your colony's destruction is merely a taste. Surrender Earth, or watch as we." The transmission cut off abruptly. In the United Earth Defense Chamber, Admiral James Hawthorne replayed the final seconds. Everyone expected to see death in the Nova colonists' eyes. Instead, they saw something that made even hardened military leaders shift uncomfortably. They saw purpose. "Play the next part," Hawthorne ordered. The footage switched to the colony's quantum-sealed data core, recovered by the first response team. It showed Dr. Natasha Volkov, Nova's lead scientist, working frantically in her lab as the colony burned around her. "They think this is hell," she laughed, blood streaming from a wound on her forehead. "They don't understand. Humans don't break in hell, we take notes." Her fingers flew across holographic displays, modifying equations that shouldn't have been possible under normal physics. The Krivari's weapons tear apart reality itself. But they never asked the important question: what lies in the spaces between? The footage showed other survivors joining her. Not running, not hiding, but working with a terrifying intensity. They weren't just fighting back, they were learning, adapting, evolving in real time as their world burned around them. In the present, Director Marcus Chen of Global Sciences stood before the Defense Council. "The Nova colonists didn't just die fighting," he explained, his voice tight with controlled emotion. "They completed their research. In those final hours, as the Krivari rained down what they called hell, our people cracked the code of interdimensional physics." He activated a hologram showing the last data burst from Nova. "The Krivari weapons don't just destroy, they tear holes in reality. Our people figured out how to stabilize those tears. More importantly, they learned how to step through them." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What the Krivari had meant as an instrument of terror, humanity had turned into a doorway to something new. General Diana Rodriguez, her dark eyes reflecting the hologram's glow, leaned forward. "How long until we can weaponize this?" "We already have," Chen replied. Dr. Volkov's final gift was a complete blueprint. "We've been implementing it in secret for the past month. Project Prometheus is ready." The next transmission the Krivari received wasn't a plea for mercy. It was Admiral Hawthorne, standing in what remained of Nova Colony. Behind him, strange lights pulsed in patterns that made reality itself seem to shiver. "You thought you'd show us hell," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 8 billion humans' determination. "But hell isn't a place, Dexthor. Hell is just a word for a limit you're too afraid to push past. Allow me to demonstrate." He nodded to someone off-screen. Across Earth, thousands of facilities activated simultaneously. The tiers in reality the Krivari had created didn't close, they stabilized, transformed, became something new. Something controlled. "You see," Hawthorne continued, "humans have a peculiar trait. When we find a limit, we don't just break it. We study it. Master it. Turn it into a tool. You thought your weapons showed us hell." He smiled, but there was nothing friendly in it. "Let us show you what lies beyond." In orbit, the Krivari warships detected energy signatures unlike anything their sensors had ever recorded. Their weapons had torn holes in reality, yes, but humans had learned to tear them wider. Control them. Step through them. The last thing Dexthor saw before cutting transmission was Hawthorne stepping into one of those stabilized tiers. Not with fear, but with the calm certainty of someone who had mastered what should have been impossible. In the following days, as Earth prepared its response, a new saying spread through the military: they thought hell was the limit, but humans don't hit limits. We move them. The Krivari had unleashed their worst, thinking it would break humanity. Instead, they had given humans the keys to something far beyond hell itself. And humanity, True to form, hadn't just survived it, they had taken those keys, improved the lock, and were about to show the galaxy exactly what lay on the other side of impossible. The awakening. The transformation of Earth happened in 30 days. Every major city became a fortress, not of concrete and steel, but of controlled chaos. Reality rippled in carefully managed tiers, the very fabric of spacetime dancing to human command. What had once been streets and buildings now pulsed with an otherworldly energy that the Krivari's own sensors couldn't comprehend. In the depths of Mount Cheyenne, director Marcus Chen watched as Dr. Volkov's final gift revolutionized human understanding. The tiers aren't just holes in reality, he explained to the gathered military leaders. They are doors to what she called the between space, a realm that exists in the fragments of shattered dimensions. The holographic display showed a new kind of warrior training. Lieutenant Olivia West stood at the edge of a controlled tier, her modified combat suit glowing with strange symbols. She stepped forward, not through the tear, but into it. For a moment, her form seemed to exist in multiple places at once, then she emerged behind her target, having traversed space in ways that defied conventional physics. Every soldier is being retrofitted with between-space integrators, General Rodriguez reported. The Krivari thought their weapons would traumatize us. Instead, they've given us the ability to move through dimensions. Our troops don't just fight anymore, they dance through the spaces between reality. But it wasn't just the military that evolved. Civilian scientists, led by Dr. Vincent Harrison, discovered that the between space held more than just tactical advantages. The energy there, he demonstrated, activating a device that drew power directly from a stabilized tier, it's infinite. Clean. Perfect. We're not just learning to navigate hell, we're harnessing its power. The Krivari's first real warning of what they'd unleashed came when they tried to attack Earth's lunar base. Their ships, massive crystalline structures of living metal, emerged from hyperspace with weapons charged. They expected to find a primitive defense force. Instead, they found their own personal nightmare. Commander Dexthor watched in horror as human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of existence, appearing inside his fleet's formation. But these weren't normal ships, they were hybrid creations, partly physical, partly existing in the between space. When they fired, their weapons didn't just damage his ships, they rewrote the laws of physics around them. Impossible, he snarled, watching as one of his dreadnoughts was literally torn apart, not by explosions, but by controlled reality fractures. These primitives, they've mastered the void tech in weeks? We spent millennia just learning to create the tiers. The response came from Admiral Hawthorne, his voice calm but carrying an edge that made even the hardened Krivari commander's scales bristle. That's because you only saw the tiers as weapons. We saw them as doors. You wanted to show us hell? We've turned it into our playground. In orbit around Mars, the first between-space production facility came online. Dr. Elena Rossetti supervised as automated systems manufactured weapons that could have existed only in nightmares before. The Krivari's greatest mistake, she noted in her logs, was assuming that showing humans hell would break us. They forgot that humans have been imagining and reinventing hell since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what lay beyond. Back on Earth, in what used to be Central Park, Lieutenant West trained a new group of recruits. The park had become a testing ground, reality shifting and changing as soldiers learned to navigate the impossible. The between space isn't just some void, she explained to her wide-eyed trainees. It's a place where human will becomes reality. The Krivari use it to destroy. We use it to create. In his command center, Admiral Hawthorne received reports from across the solar system. Human outposts, once vulnerable to attack, now existed partially in normal space and partially in the between. The Krivari's sensors couldn't even detect them properly, let alone target them. They thought they were gods of destruction, he mused, watching as another squad of soldiers completed their between-space integration training. They never considered that humans might look at their hell and think, we can do better than this. The final piece of Earth's transformation came from an unexpected source. Dr. Volkov's last research, hidden in encrypted files, revealed that the between space wasn't just a realm of chaos, it was responsive to human consciousness itself. The more humanity pushed into it, the more it seemed to push back, not with resistance, but with possibilities. "We're not just adapting to this new reality," Director Chen announced to the Defense Council. "We're shaping it." The Krivari showed us their version of hell, thinking it was the ultimate expression of power. "We've taken that hell, tamed it, and we're about to show them what true power looks like." As Earth prepared for its first major offensive, a message was broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every Krivari ship in the system. It was simple, elegant, and terrifying in its implications. "You thought hell was your domain. Thank you for the introduction. Now, let us show you our improvements." Hell's new masters. High Commander Dexthor stood on his flagship's bridge, his crimson scales darkening with rage as he watched the impossible unfold. The Krivari's ultimate weapon, the reality render, a device that had broken 1,000 civilizations, was being deployed against Earth. The massive cannon, built into the heart of his command ship, began to tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. But something was wrong. The humans weren't running. They weren't screaming. They weren't dying. "My lord," his weapons officer called out, fear evident in his multitoned voice, they are singing." Through the command ship sensors, a haunting melody reached them, a battle hymn broadcast from every human vessel and installation. As the reality render's beam struck Earth's defensive line, the song grew stronger. The tear in reality didn't expand chaotically as it should have. Instead, it stabilized, transformed, and began to pulse in rhythm with the human battle song. Admiral Hawthorne's voice cut through the Krivari command frequency. "Did you really think we wouldn't understand your weapon's true nature? Reality responds to consciousness, to will. And if there's one thing humans have in abundance, it's willpower." Lieutenant West led the first counterattack. Her squadron, now known as the Void Dancers, moved through the stabilized tear in perfect formation. Their combat suits, enhanced with between-space technology, allowed them to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. To the Krivari sensors, they appeared as nightmarish echoes, each soldier seemingly present in dozens of places at once. The between-space isn't just some wound in reality, West transmitted to her team as they penetrated the Krivari fleet's defenses. "It's a canvas, and we're the artists. Show them what humanity can paint with their palette of destruction." Dr. Harrison's latest breakthrough had given the human forces an unprecedented advantage. The between-space integrators now allowed soldiers to not just traverse the tiers, but to reshape them. What the Krivari had intended as a weapon of absolute destruction became a tool of creation in human hands. Dexthor watched in mounting horror as his fleet's formation began to crumble. Human ships didn't just dodge his weapons, they caught the energy beams, redirected them through controlled reality tiers, and returned them transformed. Krivari vessels found themselves trapped in loops of their own weapon fire, each blast passing through multiple dimensional layers before striking its source. "This isn't possible," he roared, smashing his command console. "The reality render is the ultimate expression of destruction. It cannot be controlled." Director Chen's voice answered him, transmitted through a tear in reality that opened directly on the Krivari bridge. "That's where you fundamentally misunderstood humanity, Commander. We don't accept ultimates. We don't bow to impossibilities. When you showed us hell, you didn't break us, you gave us a new frontier to conquer." The battle reached its crescendo as Earth unveiled its masterstroke. Dr. Rossetti's teams had not just studied the between space, they had learned to weave it. Massive arrays around Earth activated simultaneously, their energy patterns matching the harmonics of human consciousness. The tiers in reality didn't just stabilize, they began to synchronize. "You tear reality apart because you can only think in terms of destruction," Admiral Hawthorne's voice carried a note of almost paternal disappointment. "We've learned to knit it back together, to shape it, to improve it. Your hell was just the beginning of our ascension." The synchronized tiers formed a new pattern, one that defied the Krivari's understanding of physics. Human ships moved through these controlled dimensional corridors with precision that made their earlier mastery look primitive. Each vessel existed in multiple states, their weapons striking from angles that shouldn't have existed. Lieutenant West's team penetrated the Kravari flagship's defenses using techniques that made even their own scientists pause in awe. Their Void Dancers didn't just fight, they rewrote the local laws of physics with each movement. Their combat suits, now more between space than physical matter, allowed them to phase through solid objects while remaining perfectly deadly. "This is humanity's response to your ultimate weapon," West transmitted as her team secured the flagship's bridge. "You showed us what you thought was the end. We showed you it was just a beginning." As the Kravari fleet fell into chaos, Dr. Harrison activated the final phase of Earth's defense. The between-space tiers didn't just connect different points in space, they began to resonate with human emotion itself. The battle hymn that had started as a psychological weapon became a key to unlocking even deeper layers of reality. "The universe isn't built on destruction," Harrison explained to the captured Kravari scientists. "It's built on harmony, on patterns, on the interplay of forces. You tried to break those patterns. We learned to conduct them like a symphony." In the end, it wasn't Earth's weapons that truly terrified the Kravari, it was the realization that humans had taken their greatest horror and turned it into art. Where the reality render had once torn ragged holes in existence, human-controlled tiers now formed complex, beautiful patterns that strengthened the fabric of spacetime rather than destroying it. Commander Dexthor, watching his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by what should have been impossible tactics, finally understood the true meaning of fear. The humans hadn't just survived hell, they had renovated it, redecorated it, and turned it into their new home. Breaking all limits. The Kravari Empire's home system received the transmission exactly one galactic standard week after their reality render's failure. Their message wasn't delivered by conventional means, it rippled through reality itself, emerging from tiers that opened simultaneously across all 9 of their core worlds. "You called us primitives," Admiral Hawthorne's voice echoed across their cities. "You thought showing us hell would break us. Instead, you gave us the keys to the universe. Now, let us demonstrate what humanity does with power." The Kravari High Council watched in stunned silence as their long-range sensors detected something unprecedented. Earth's fleet wasn't approaching through normal space, they were bringing normal space with them, reshaping reality around their vessels as they traveled. Dr. Harrison's latest breakthrough had allowed humans to extend their mastery of the between-space into a form of faster-than-light travel that made the Kravari's own technology look primitive. "The between-space isn't just a realm of chaos," Dr. Harrison explained to Earth's combined fleet commanders. "It's the foundation layer of reality itself. By understanding it, we can rewrite the rules of existence. The Kravari used it to destroy. We're using it to create new laws of physics." Lieutenant West's Void Dancers had evolved beyond mere soldiers. Their combat suits, now integrated with between-space technology on a quantum level, allowed them to exist in a state that defied conventional understanding. They didn't just move through tiers in reality, they became living tiers, capable of reshaping local spacetime by their mere presence. "Target the Kravari defense grid," West ordered her team as they approached the enemy's capital world. "But remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to transcend." The attack that followed wasn't an attack in any conventional sense. The Void Dancers didn't fire weapons or drop bombs. Instead, they began to sing, the same battle hymn that had first revealed humanity's mastery of the between-space. But now, enhanced by their evolved understanding, the song didn't just stabilize tiers in reality. It created them, controlled them, wove them into patterns that the Kravari's most advanced sensors couldn't even detect. Supreme Archon Vexthar, leader of the Kravari Empire, watched from his crystalline palace as reality itself began to change around his world. The humans weren't destroying their defenses, they were transforming them. Every weapon, every shield, every piece of advanced Kravari technology found itself integrated into a new form of existence that straddled multiple dimensions. Fascinating, isn't it? Dr. Elena Rossetti's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. She had evolved too, becoming something between a scientist and an artist of reality itself. "Your weapons taught us that reality is mutable. But you never asked the important question, if it can be broken, can it also be improved?" The answer manifested in ways that redefine the possible. Human ships didn't just appear in the Kravari system, they brought with them fragments of transformed space from Earth, creating zones where new laws of physics applied. Inside these zones, the between space wasn't a terrifying void but a manageable medium, as natural to human operators as water to a fish. Director Chen, watching from Earth through a network of stabilized tiers, nodded in satisfaction. The Kravari wanted to show us hell, he commented to the Defense Council. Instead, they showed us that reality itself is just another frontier for human innovation. The demonstration of humanity's evolution reached its peak when Admiral Hawthorne's flagship, the Prometheus, arrived in the Kravari capital system. The ship didn't travel through space, it transferred space around itself, creating a cascade of controlled reality transformations that spread across the entire system. Your reality render showed us that existence is more flexible than we imagined, Hawthorne transmitted to the Kravari leadership. But while you could only think to tear it apart, we learned to fold it, shape it, improve it. What you called hell, we call a starting point. The Kravari watched in a mixture of terror and awe as human technology they had inadvertently inspired, began to transform their worlds. Not through destruction, but through transcendence. Zones of altered physics spread across their planets, creating spaces where the between space and normal space coexisted in harmony. You thought showing us the depths of destruction would break our spirit, Lieutenant West's voice carried across dimensions as her void dancers demonstrated maneuvers that the Kravari's best scientists couldn't even their eyes. Instead, you showed us that there are no true limits, only challenges waiting to be overcome. Dr. Harrison's final report to Earth's leadership summed up humanity's transformation. The Kravari showed us what they thought was the ultimate expression of power, the ability to tear reality apart. We showed them something far more impressive, the ability to put it back together, better than before. They thought hell was the limit. We proved that hell was just the first step on a path they were too afraid to walk. As the Kravari Empire faced the choice between adaptation or obsolescence, humanity continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. The between space wasn't just a weapon anymore, it had become humanity's canvas, a medium through which they reshaped not just warfare, but existence itself. Supreme Archon Vexthar, watching his empire's greatest weapon become humanity's greatest tool, finally understood the true meaning of terror. It wasn't the fear of destruction, it was the realization that humans could take anything, even hell itself, and turn it into something more. Something beyond. Redefining the impossible. The final confrontation wasn't a battle, it was a revelation. 100 days after the Kravari had first shown humanity their version of hell, Earth's transformed fleet arrived at the heart of the between space itself. Not just ships and soldiers, but reality artists, led by those who had taken destruction and forged it into creation. Dr. Harrison stood on the Prometheus's observation deck, his form shifting between dimensions as naturally as breathing. "We found it," he announced to Admiral Hawthorne. "The quantum nexus where all reality tiers originate. The Kravari found this place eons ago, but they only saw its potential for destruction. The nexus was a storm of uncreated possibilities, a maelstrom of raw reality where the laws of physics were more suggestion than rule. This was where the Kravari had crafted their reality render, thinking they'd discovered the ultimate weapon. They never imagined that humans would not only survive it but follow it back to its source. Supreme Archon Vexthar had gathered the entire Kravari battle fleet here, a last desperate attempt to protect what they considered sacred ground. "You dare to profane this place," his transmission boomed across all frequencies. "This is the Forge of Oblivion, where we learn to tear reality itself." Lieutenant West's response came not in words, but in action. Her void dancers, now more energy than matter, began to move through the quantum storm in perfect harmony. The battle hymn that had become humanity's signature spread through the between space, not as sound, but as pure pattern. "You never understood," Dr. Elena Rossetti's voice carried across dimensions. "This isn't a forge of destruction, it's the birthplace of possibility itself. You learn to tear reality here. We've learned to birth new ones." What followed wasn't combat in any recognizable form. The human fleet, led by Admiral Hawthorne, began to resonate with the quantum nexus itself. Ships didn't fire weapons, they conducted symphonies of reality-altering energy. The void dancers didn't attack, they danced through the storm, each movement creating new patterns in the fabric of existence. Director Chen, monitoring from Earth through a network of stabilized tiers, watched in awe as humanity demonstrated its ultimate evolution. The between space was never meant to be a weapon, he broadcasted to all forces. It's the universe's creative workshop, and humanity has just learned how to use the tools. The Kravari fleet's weapons proved worse than useless. Every reality tear they created was instantly transformed by human operators into something new. Where they tried to destroy, humans created. Where they attempted to unleash chaos, humanity imposed harmony, not through force, but through understanding. Watch closely, Admiral Hawthorne transmitted to the Kravari forces. This is what happens when you show humans hell. We don't just survive it. We don't just master it. We transform it into something you never imagined possible. Dr. Harrison's teams activated the culmination of human innovation, the reality harmonizer. Unlike the reality render, this device didn't tear space-time. Instead, it revealed the underlying patterns in the quantum nexus, patterns the Kravari had never noticed in their quest for destructive power. The effect was immediate and unprecedented. The storms of the between space began to calm, not through force, but through resonance. Reality tiers didn't close, they stabilized, becoming permanent bridges between possibilities. The quantum nexus, for eons a place of chaos and destruction, began to pulse with new purpose. Lieutenant West and her void dancers moved through this transformed space, no longer just warriors but artists of reality itself. The between space isn't empty, she explained to her awestruck team. It's full of potential. The Kravari saw their void and feared it. We saw the canvas and learned to paint. Supreme Ark and Vexthar watched in disbelief as human ships began to create stable zones within the quantum nexus itself, not tears or wounds in reality, but carefully crafted spaces where multiple dimensions coexisted in harmony. What are you? He demanded, his voice trembling with something beyond fear. We are human, Admiral Hawthorne replied simply. You showed us what you thought was the ultimate expression of power, the ability to destroy reality itself. We showed you something far greater, the power to create new ones. The final transformation came not with a bang, but with a symphony. The human battle hymn, evolved beyond sound into pure pattern, spread through the quantum nexus. Reality tiers became reality bridges. The between space, once a realm of nightmares, became a network of infinite possibility. Dr. Rossetti's final transmission to Earth summarized humanity's ultimate victory. They thought hell was the limit because they could only imagine power in terms of destruction. We proved that true power lies not in tearing things apart, but in discovering what can be built from the pieces. The Kravari showed us their hell, and we turned it into our heaven. As the quantum nexus stabilized under human guidance, the Kravari fleet faced a choice that their species had never imagined: adapt to this new reality or remain trapped in their limited understanding of power. Their hell had become humanity's greatest gift to the universe, not a weapon of destruction, but a tool of infinite creation. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as humanity opened doorways to possibilities that even the between space had never dreamed possible. They had not just redefined hell, they had transformed it into something that transcended both heaven and hell, proving once and for all that for humans, there are no limits, only new horizons to explore.